All right, today we're going to talk about something that is very important to me, but it's the direction of the game. There has been some truly horrible decisions made over at Scopely to change the direction of the day, and the question has been coming is, what do we do about it? And what are envoys doing about it? What are the player voice? And player voice has been a interesting subject, and joined with me today is Evan B. There's been some changes in the player's voice movement, wouldn't you say?
There have. We are certainly a constantly evolving entity.
Okay, and I want to give some context of where I'm coming from and then how you fit into this before we talk about the problem and the potential solution with Scopely. Is player's voice, just explain the player's voice in general, the leadership, the voted in people, and how often you meet with Scopely.
Sure. So the player's voice started with players getting together and trying to organize around the idea that we needed to have change within the game. And unlike previous movements, one of our primary objectives was really to work with Scopely, to become partners with Scopely in seeing through a game that can be successful, recognizing that they are a business, and seeing the longevity of the game and the success of the game. So the community as it stands, we're about 8,500 people on the Discord. But where we work with Scopely is through our council. The Players' Council is voted in by the people within the organization. So we put up a poll every 3 months, I believe, to put out representatives and their opportunity to vote in. So one person from each spending group, free to play adjacent, heavy spenders and Kraken level spending essentially. Each representative joins our leadership in a bi-weekly meeting with Scopely. We talk about the issues at hand, we talk about what's coming up, and we talk about the future of the game and how we can really see it be a success.
Okay, so I just want to give some context to who you are. Interestingly, you and I almost have the same approach and to this game, almost identically. We're almost like the same kind of player in a lot of ways,
Very
right?
similar.
Yeah, so both of us are soft launch beta players, right? We've been playing the game for a long time. Both of us, you said you were a mid-range spender, and I corrected you and said I think you're a high spender. Well, and what that means, and I'll say what I spend on, and then you tell me what you spend on. But it's nearly identical. I buy battle passes, and I usually buy one character offer to get the character unlocked, right? Because I like making videos for them and things like that. And then rarely do I buy anything else. Where are you at with spending in the game?
So I buy battle passes, and I buy probably the $100 offer of select characters. So I don't buy every character, but if they're, generally speaking, if they're Arena or Crucible, those are the two modes that I care about the most.
Right.
Those are what I'll go after. Now, Raid and War, I may core. I may do a later down the ride offer. But generally speaking, I'm buying battle passes, $100 offer on select characters, and maybe an extra $5 or $10 offer here or there.
Okay, and so the reason why I brought this up is that you're a highly engaged player. This is a hobby for you. This is a passion for you. You're willing to put your time into this. You're not paid by Scopely or anybody. You're doing this because you love the game. And also, one of the main criticisms that I've personally had initially with the Players' Voice Council is that the leadership, which I love all three of them, but all three of them were mega spenders. We're not talking people that are spending $200 or $300 a month. We were talking about people that spend $2,000 or $3,000 or more a month. We're talking about Beta Ray Bill, Sevi, and Evdog were the original leadership, right? So things have changed at the Player's Voice, right? Wouldn't you say that as far as the leadership having more of I know you and I know Johnny, and I know Johnny from Mutiny, and I know that he is a Kraken spender. I mean, he probably has like one of the largest accounts in the game. So I'm guessing that he spends thousands. I don't know what he spends, but I'm guessing he spends thousands. And then you said the third member is Lips, and you would describe Lips as a intermittent battle pass spender.
I believe that's the case. I believe he was also an elected council member who was then moved into leadership. And I believe he was the step down. So he definitely is a spender, but he's not a heavy spender.
Okay, so Sevi is departing from the player voice movement in protest of some of the changes. And then she calls out the three of you. And I've already talked to you, obviously. Talk to you right now. And I know Johnny very well. Now, I want to refer back to a post that was posted by Sevi. And when I first saw this post, I said, Sevi wrote this, and she corrected me and she said, no, she posted it. You actually wrote this. Is that correct?
Yes, I write the vast majority of the content for the Player's Voice movement itself.
All right. If it's okay with you, I want to take a minute and read this in its entirety because this is was one of the better posts. And I felt like, and the reason why this post was important to me is you guys meet with them every 2 weeks with them, and we meet with them about once a month. And by design, we don't really talk that much. The council is not merged with Envoys. It's two separate ways of community communicates
Correct.
with the developers. Independently of each other, we had the exact same visceral gut reaction of hatred of what they're trying to do over there. Maybe I'm putting words into your mouth. But they were not looking for feedback at all. They were
Correct.
like,
Yeah.
this is
Nobody
what
likes
we're
this.
this is what we're doing, and be ready. And it was almost like they were hoping that we would soften the blow, which I don't think happened. Anyways, let's read this. When the Player Voice was formed, it was non-negotiable that all spending groups had to be represented. We know that detractors like to refer to a group as a council of Krakens. At the same time, there was a number of self-proclaimed Krakens who think it is entirely free-to-play focused. We have always stood for what the community as a whole and longevity of the game. And I'll stop there for a minute. I thought that initially too, and I had to talk to the three of them to be convinced for myself that it was not a council of Krakens. And now that it is shifted from the original three leaders to the new three leaders, I think that is less true than ever before. What do you have to say about that?
Well, you may or may not have been who I was thinking of when I wrote that initial sentence. And at the time, Sevi was not stepping away from the game just yet. We'll get to the teaser a little bit later in the post, but I mean, this is a big deal. This is it was important to reframe why the Player's Voice was put together and put some communication out there that this is not something that we support. We're frequently criticized because we don't necessarily put out a post on every little thing that they do, and we really want to make sure that they're impactful and meaningful, so we're not just drowning everybody out with noise. But this was a big deal. This is a huge shift in the philosophy of the game and how players are interacting with it.
Okay. And the reason why I think this is important to the people watching the video is for two reasons. One, we're going to talk about what the community can do to help the Player Voice and Envoys and this whole situation move in a better direction. And secondly, I do think that the Player's Voice has more impact if more people are involved with it. And so the second purpose of the video is to drive people to the Discord and hopefully people get involved in the same way that you have, which is going to be a positive for the community. Yesterday's blog and recent events have demonstrated an intent to do what we consider to be a great harm to the community and the longevity of the game. We fully understand Scopely is a business. We fully understand the desire to protect spenders' purchase advantage. We fully understand that the commitment we fought for to getting engaged players to 7 yellow star characters within 6 months of release is not being disrupted. So that was a monstrous change in the game. And I got to tell you, I started a new player account and the game is very easy to get up and running and move forward quickly in the game, largely because of that change.
Absolutely. And that was certainly not the case before. It was regularly a concern of, with people quitting the game, where are the replacement players going to come from? Because we can't sit around and wait 3 years for them to get up to speed.
Yes. And so a lot of these changes that were initiated by the Player's Voice in conjunction with Scopely that were a big change for the positive, or the 6 months to a year ago, that's the time frame I'm thinking was when a lot of these changes went into place, made it easier for people to start playing the game again. People that stepped away from the game for a year, opened up their account, started playing the game, and they felt like they weren't that far behind. They could catch up. And a lot of people came back to the game, frankly, because of these changes. I mean, I'm sure you saw that as well.
Absolutely. It was a good time to come back. And honestly, when people's consideration is, do I start a new account or do I pick up my old account? and that's the only thing that they're thinking, it's not a bad place to be. I mean, we're going to get people back into the game and back into the community when things are moving in a positive direction like that.
All right, I'm going to continue reading. However, the business goals of Scopely and the ability for a free-to-play player to participate in the game and acquire characters do not have to be at odds. It does not require the use of fear as a weapon or only giving free-to-play incredibly small odds to strike it rich. Spenders can have an advantage while still allowing free-to-play players the ability to access new characters in a timely fashion. There are more moderate options available. And I'm going to say this, the game has always been pay to win. Spenders have always had an advantage, either in power or in time savings. But these changes, starting with Old Man Logan, Captain Britain, and now Annihilators and Orcus, has moved the game into a pay-to-play situation. Would you agree with that?
I don't know that I'd go it's full on pay to play, but we're certainly threatening to be moving more in that direction. We have very firm gates in place to get more than what they're willing to allow you to have. I mean, your baby account got Old Man Logan, and that probably wasn't their intent.
30 days, yeah, 30
but
day
you were
mark,
able to
yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
So that's not pay to play, but to get anything more, you spent money.
Yeah, and I mean, Captain Britain is outright pay to play, and absolutely. And I'm worried about the timeline of unlocking new characters. Like if it's anything like that. I mean, all we know is the Annihilators release, right? I mean, they said they could tweak it, but I think there has been 2 big posts a day for weeks about how garbage the orbs are or the release schedule for the Annihilators. I mean, it's been a constant problem, which you talk about right here. Scopely is very proud of their new orbs, giving players instant unlock at far-fetched odds. And I took great issue with that, but talk about all of that right there.
So it's troubling. It's definitely a situation where, you know, they really like this new option where people can use these orbs and get an instant unlock and you know, open up the character the day it comes out, essentially. And so now free to play has access to the character at the same time as spenders. But what we're going to see is, as time goes on, that those initial spikes in character unlock are going to be balanced out tremendously by people not unlocking the character in 30 days, people not necessarily unlocking the character at 60 days. So we got to see how some of these things play out to a certain extent, but it's really, really concerning. We know that we have a 6-month line in the sand for a 7-star character,
right?
But everything in between is completely up in the air.
Yeah, and the way that I look at it is the way that the old system was prior to what they're trying to do now is, you know, there was a new character release and you could buy them, and then there was like a high degree of exclusivity for about 10 days, let's say a week and a half on average. And then players could engage in the events and get a low-star character. And there was like a high level of certainty that happened on every character release, you know, and some of the events took longer than others. So from the initial purchase date, you know, where there were offers, you know, most players between 2 to 3 weeks had the character at 3 stars. This is not what's going to happen now. Nobody knows. It's if you get a 1 in 250 drop, maybe you get the character now, maybe you get it in 2 weeks, maybe there's an event, maybe not there's an event. And they were trying to tell us, and I know they told you, and I'd like to get your take on it, is like, well, the total number of shards is going to be higher overall with this new system when we're like a month out or something like that. They threw a lot of numbers. None of them made any sense to me. I punched all kinds of holes in their numbers right away. I mean, I was not thrilled with this conversation. But the problem is this introduced risk. And there are players today that got all 3 of the Annihilators very quickly, and there's players that have 2 missing today, right? Yep. And this risk of, you know, if your alliance mate that's free to play and you are free to play and he has the characters unlocked and you don't, the only way to manage that risk is spending money. That's terrible.
Not only that, but it's introducing this time component that we're always watching. How much time are we spending in a game? How much time are war captains and raid captains spending in game? And when you can't say with certainty that everybody in your alliance has the Orcus team unlocked or has annihilators in place to put in for defense or whatever it is. It's that much more work that these officers have to do to wrangle their alliance and to keep things moving along. And if we're going to get through these, through these Orcus raids, which, are a slog without this team, it's going to be that much more of an issue moving forward.
All right, so we've identified what the problem is. Let's talk about the solution and what you and I can do, and then also what the community do. Like it or not, it does provide some opportunity for a small percentage of the community to unlock characters for free and faster than before. That's nonsense. I did not buy into their presentation on that at all. The community is having some players unlock the new characters faster than before, but the number of players not unlocking characters long past the release date is unacceptable and ultimately detrimental, which we just talked about, particular with non-committal language subject to change around what happens between release and 6 months. Experimentation is not in itself a problem, but it would seem that the scientist supremes at Scopely have gone too far. We are seeing players at all levels leave the game over the last several weeks, and more with an announcement yesterday. This will only continue. So this is the main point.
So let's pause for 1 second, because
Sure.
I want to go back to the thing that you took issue with. Their data showed that more free-to-play players are unlocking characters within the first couple days. Now,
Okay, I agree with that, but my issue was 0 going up to point nothing. Yes, it's a multiple, but it's still not a meaningful number.
Correct.
It's not a meaningful number. Yeah.
There are more people who are unlocking it because there's some amount of people that are going to hit this jackpot on an orb that didn't exist before. Right. And there are more cores in the economy. But what we're going to quickly find is that we have cored our brains out for the Annihilators and Arena team. People have cored their brains out for this raid team, and people are going to run out of cores. The stockpiles that they've been saving aren't going to last for more characters as they keep going.
That is the only upside to this entire conversation, is that they have greatly increased the total amount of cores through the Arena system, where people are going to have to depend them to manage this risk of not unlocking a character, I was experiencing a high degree of skepticism with the Orcus team. Like, if you don't get all 5 members, you don't get the 3 new members, you can't complete in the raid. Turns out it's not the case. You can actually do it with 4 members, but still, right? It's like, what about the next raid team? What about the next whatever, right? I mean, it's just like, it's such a wild presentation of unlocking characters where is an incomplete team even viable at all? What, do you not upgrade any of the characters until you get the last one unlocked? I mean, this is a horrible... We're going to have to know when to core and not core. Do we screw our alliance over, or do we build Crucible teams because that's our favorite game mode? Or do we not worry about Alliance War anymore? And then do we just only care about the game mode and I don't care about my... I mean, horrible decisions to be made if you don't want to spend.
Correct. And that's the thing. Everybody's going to be put to the test of, are you willing to spend? And the thing I wanted to briefly throw out is it's data mined, but those DD8 global nodes certainly look like they're warming them up for Orcus. So incentivize those spends and screw over those people who put in effort into Cabal. We'll see. Yeah,
and be ready for this, because DD8 is really going to be a telltale sign of what they're actually trying to do over there. And I'm very skeptical on the way that that's going to play out, but we're going to know Monday, Tuesday. Anyways, what do we do about it? Player voice movement does not support the philosophical shift presented and will be working to counteract the damage done to the community's trust and interest in the game. And then this is the part that I liked. You got it in italics here. Whenever you see italics, that means it's important, right? We encourage all players to make their voices heard on social, in Discord, and via support tickets. If you feel like updating your app store ratings, adjusting your spending, or taking some time off, we completely understand, and we're reflecting on things ourselves. So what do you think about all that?
I think it's important for everybody to self-reflect and figure out what's their relationship with the game, what's the relationship with Scopely. Are you enjoying the game? What is it that you want to do? And for Sevi, a very principled person, she decided this was the end. This was going to be her opportunity to make a principled stand and say, I'm done. I know I have curtailed my spending. I know others have curtailed their spending. I know a lot of people have updated their ratings of the game. I know a lot of people have voiced a lot of opinions on Reddit. So that's what we got to keep doing, is just making our voices heard. And that's what the council is going to continue to do in our meetings as well.
Okay, so I think that is it. The one thing that I want to stress right here is that you and I are not calling for a mass downvote in the stores. What I'm suggesting is that if you think the game is amazing, go to the store and give it a 5-star rating. If you don't, write a constructive criticism of what your grievances are and give it an appropriate rating. We're not, because
100%.
Because Apple will block all of these if it's perceived as like a targeted,
as a bomb,
a targeted bomb, and then none of the feedback is seen by anybody. And I do get the general feeling that they care about what is said on Reddit and Facebook and Discord. I want to ask you about this specifically. We kind of talked about it a little bit before we started recording. Is like this last call that we had with RJ, who's the head guy over there. They were not looking for feedback at all on this move. This is, here it is. Here you go. Here's our data, which I don't agree with their data. This is what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we normally have very constructive conversations with them. They'll share a lot more with us, in theory, than with the envoys. And we get a long review of the game sometimes. However, this was not something that they were really looking for feedback on. This was something that they expected there to be blowback on. And, they were entrenched in this position. Now, we're still going to be pushing back on it. We're still going to be trying to form as constructive and helpful of an argument for the players to Scopely as possible. The big thing is going to be the next couple days are going to be rounding 30 days on some of the Annihilators from their initial release and free to play, shenanigans and so forth. We're going to be pushing for more data from them and really having a hard conversation about how some of their plans have really gone. Now, we're trusting the source for their own data, but these are important conversations to have because no one is really experiencing a good time with these orbs.
Right.
I've not hit 100 jackpot on any of the characters that they've put these things out. I know I'm not alone.
I got Shuri back in the day, but does that count under the new system? But none of the after that, no. Yeah.
Nothing. I didn't get Shuri. I didn't get Pym. I didn't get any of these. So if I didn't buy them, I would have had a very, very low star character. I don't even know that I would have unlocked Thanos at this point. But here we are.
Yeah, and I know that there's going to be people saying that they're doing this because the Krakens want to do this. I got the feeling that they were getting information from other Scopely games and trying to pivot this game to be more in alignment with other Scopely games, or they were getting data from competitors to Marvel Strike Force.
I would certainly put a lot more stock in that than a handful of Krakens saying, we want to make sure that we get our advantage. Because frankly, we've talked with plenty of people who are at that level and who are not concerned about that and who are actively opposed to the changes because it impacts their alliance mates and it impacts their friends who play the game.
Yes.
They want to play with other people.
Yes, Scopely, I mean, I play other games similar to Marvel Strike Force, and a lot of them are more RNG based. I mean, this game is much lower than other games. And also, Scopely has, had some wild success with Monopoly Go and things like that. And and there's somebody over there looking is like, why can't you do what they're doing? And that is where I take issue is that $80 is enough. Like, I don't understand this idea that $80 isn't enough. Like, Battle Pass spenders should feel good about playing this game, and now they're most likely not, right? And I take issue with those two things. $80 not being enough, and they're moving it heavily towards RNG.
Yeah, I mean, the RNG shift is a big concern for sure. I mean, coming from Star Wars years ago, that was the only way you get people, and obviously your Revan video is infamous in that regard, but buying characters in Star Wars was a miserable experience. I think I only did it one time. I wailed hard on one of them, and it felt terrible. You know, I feel like we had a really good thing going on a number of levels, and we were making good progress. And these most recent changes are really disheartening. But it's not too late for us to turn things around. They are very open to feedback in general, and they have doubled back on decisions in the past. Part of our greatest successes are probably things that never saw the light of day.
Yeah, people don't know about that. There were some changes that just never made it into the game because of. Yeah. Anyways, we would have Magneto as the boss in Battle World if we hadn't complained, which would have been lame. You know what I'm talking about, right? It was
Absolutely.
It was like this is not interesting and not good. And then they thought, well, everybody loves Magneto. No, that's so boring. So you know the
Battle World
yeah
has the opportunity to be a great thing for this game, but. Speaking as somebody who's territory battles in Star Wars, where this is clearly modeled after, was my favorite game mode in Star Wars, and it was honestly the reason I stuck around as long as I did at the end. If we can get something like that going, I think it would be great. Now I have some concerns about where we're at, but we have the opportunity to get that stuff over the finish line, and I think we have a good chance of doing it.
Yeah, and I was offered an opportunity to play test. I'm guessing you were offered the same thing, and they said that we could tell people. Well, no, they told us that we could tell people that we're going to be able. Well, at least I'm able to say that there is going to be a play test, and I'm going to be participating. So we'll have to see. I mean, I didn't really like territory battles in Galaxy of Heroes, but we'll see. We'll see if I like it. You know, maybe it'll still be something good. I feel like there's been situations in the history of Marvel Strike Force where they copied Galaxy of Heroes homework and somehow made it worse.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Which is really wild.
Absolutely.
I mean, like Grand Arena is better than Cosmic Crucible, but I still love Cosmic Crucible. But I'm just saying is like I don't know how they made it worse. Like you think they would improve upon an idea rather than make it like dumbed down or something, watered down.
No, look at the orbs we're opening now.
Yeah. All right. So the call to action here is if you think the player voice is a net positive for the community, which I do believe it is. Is it perfect to scopely listen to everything? No, but there will be a link to the Discord, and I do suggest anything you want to say before we go.
Get involved. However you see fit. Go on Reddit. Go to the forums. Go to Discord. Go to the game. However you see fit to get involved. Come to the Discord and help us out. We're happy to have you.
All right. Thanks for now. Bye for now.